Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Tuesday morning, of course, the main event podcast here. I'm Stephen McCollum. A day later than normal. Normally we do this on Mondays, but yesterday I was finishing up the racetrack duty stuff that I had, as well as some other fun stuff I had going on yesterday. So wasn't able to get on yesterday. Thought we'd throw it up today because a lot of football action, a lot of news going on out there. Of course, I did fill in on the blender yesterday, and I got to talk a lot of that, but just so much more. Wanted to get on today. Appreciate you guys coming in. Of course, this is the main event podcast. I'm Stephen McCollum. Exciting times in the world of Phoenix sports, especially right now. Let me check the sound here real quick because I just got done fixing some settings because last week apparently I had a setting wrong and it was all echoey. So let me just check it real quick. Oh, Lordy, Whoa, Lordy, that loud. All right, cool. Back to normal. All right. Doing your own production and setting everything up, sometimes it's a chore. I'm not going to lie to you, y'all. I'm not going to lie to y'all. So, this weekend, actually breaking news right now, just hitting the airwaves a little bit ago while I was getting prep ready to go. Major League Baseball breaking news. Theo Epstein has resigned from from the Chicago Cubs. He's the president of baseball operations for the Cubs. Jed Hoyer is the new president of baseball operations for your Chicago Cubs. Of course, in Theo's release, he said that he's going to take next year off. People always say that, right? It's interesting because, obviously the Red Sox is where he's from. So there's speculation there. A lot of people speculating that. And, of course, the obvious speculation is the New York Mets. Just got rid of his whole front office. Did all of that stuff, and Steve Cohen has the money. He wants to be successful, and Theo definitely has put winning teams together in short time frames with the Red Sox and with the Cubs. So kind of a good deal, kind of a good reason to speculate there. He wanted ownership stake. He wanted stuff like that, and Steve Cohen can actually offer all that to him as the new owner of the Mets. So guys always say that they're going to, take the season off. And hey, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you get an offer you cannot refuse, and that's the route that you go. Obviously, when you say that stuff, things change quickly, right? So maybe he will take the season off. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to do, right? But, he was with the Cubs for 9 seasons. Of course, he is resigning on November 20th, so 3 more days. Jed Hoyer, who's taken over the president of baseball operations. Joined the Cubs in November of 2011 as executive VP, general manager. Obviously getting promoted up, as I said. In the letter sent out to friends today, Theo Epstein outlined his reasons for leaving the Cubs. And then he said, as far as him going to the Mets or Phillies, though, well, he said, quote, next summer will be my first in 30 years not clocking into work every day at a major league ballpark. He also said that he will spend time with family and friends and work with nonprofits, including his foundation to be named later, and the Players Alliance. He said, quote, I do plan on having a third chapter leading a baseball organization someday, though I do not expect it to be next year. Key word there, does not expect it to be. So let's just see what happens. But it's fun to speculate, right, on there. So that's going on with breaking baseball news. Definitely wanted to get that out there. White Sox still have Tony La Russa as the manager. They're still waiting for his DUI case to be solved, and then they're going to do something about it. We're still all baffled by that, so nothing's changed there. Of course, baseball is kind of on the back burner right now. Free agency is going on, about to start, and teams are talking to people. I saw the Mets made contact with Asuka to bring him in, and just a lot of speculation out there regarding baseball right now. But it's not that time of year. Then, yesterday, as you all know, unless you live underneath a rock, even if you're not an NBA fan there, the Suns pulled off a trade that, was speculated on last week, and CP3 is being traded from the Thunder to the Phoenix Suns. And they gave up, of course, Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, a couple other younger players, Ty Jerome and Jalen Lecque, and a 2022 first-round pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder in exchange for Chris Paul and Abdel Nader. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. A lot of people like this. A lot of people don't like this. Obviously, CP3 is older. In basketball terms, he's a senior citizen in the NBA. Guy can still shoot. What he brings to this Suns team, as I said yesterday on the Blender, he brings experience. He brings leadership. He brings locker room leadership. This team has been lacking leadership for a few years. They were super young. I don't blame anybody. It's not Booker's fault. It's not Ayton's fault. It's not anybody else's fault. They needed leadership on this team, and they got it now. They were 10th in the West last year, went 8-0 in the bubble. It showed that they did it without Kelly Oubre, who I like as a player. I thought he was great here. But he didn't play in the bubble, and they showed he's expendable. He's probably going to go to the Thunder. He's probably going to start the season there, but he's probably going to get traded at the trade deadline for them. They don't want players like that, right? He does have an expiring contract. With the Suns, usually expiring contracts, the Suns usually let it play out the year, and then they just let him walk away for nothing. So at least the Suns got something for Kelly Oubre. Now, yes, Chris Paul. Did they give up one too many players? That seems to be the debate in the world right now. Yeah, they probably gave up one too many players, but it's who they didn't give up. They didn't give up Cam Johnson. They didn't give up any of those guys underneath there that were on this team that were pivotal players last year. As the additional young guys is what I'm saying at the end there. That's good. They also kept their number 10 pick for this year. Also good. Can make more trades. Can get more get another veteran in here. Because regardless of Chris Paul's attitude and how some people don't like him, he is the main guy of the Players Association. They vote him into there every year. Yeah, sometimes he's difficult to play with. So's LeBron. So was Michael. So was any of those bad boy Pistons. So some guys don't want to play with him, but some guys do. And he brings leadership directly in here. Hopefully, DeAndre Ayton's defense can step up a little bit there. And working with Chris Paul, you can see what he needs to do. This is exciting. People are saying that they're still not a playoff team. Some people are. That's crap. They need to be a playoff team next year with Chris Paul. He's making $41 million a year. He took the Oklahoma City Thunder last year from a team that was tanking got them into the playoffs with 44 wins, and they looked good while doing it also. Chris Paul's an immediate impact on this Suns team. Expectations for the Suns now are high. Before it was just ho-hum. Let's see if we can get an 8 spot. The expectations are they get in the playoffs next year. It's a good trade. Maybe they gave up one too many players, and they brought in a high salary guy at $41 million at the end of his career. That's fine and dandy. This team needed to do something, and they did it, and that's what's exciting about it. Now we got to see if it works out. Right? If it doesn't work out, I'll be the first ones to rip them for it. Because they need to be a playoff team. They were 2 games out. They were 2 games out of getting to the and dandy playoffs last year. And they didn't play well last year either when they got there. Chris Paul gives them those 2 wins to get into the playoffs, to that 8 seed. Are they better than Portland now? Portland was injured last year. Can they get better than Portland? Probably better than Portland now. Can they get to the Mavericks, who are in the 9th or in the 7th seed? Probably. They're probably better than Mavericks right now with Chris Paul on that team. Can they get to that 44 level where there were 4 or 5 teams in that in the NBA? It's possible. They can win 10 more games. Chris Paul is worth 10 more games to this team. They could get into those 5, 6, 7 seeds in the West next year. Mikel on Facebook says, yeah, you tell him, Steve. That's crap. Suns are going to the playoffs. Woo! Yeah, I don't understand the negativity around it. I really don't. This team is better with Chris Paul. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everywhere Chris Paul has gone, he made the team better when he's been there. Yeah, he can't run like he used to. Yeah, he can't penetrate like he used to, but he can still shoot outside. He still has that leadership ability for Booker, for Ayton, for Cam Johnson, all these young guys out there. Mikal Bridges. Solid pickup. Suns needed to make a move. Otherwise, we would have just been ho-hum going into this year like we always are, and we would have watched them struggle throughout the year and not make the playoffs, and we all would have been like, oh, same old Suns. Boo, Sarver. Sarver goes out and makes a move. And now it's like, oh, they made the wrong move. Knock it off. Knock it off, everybody. Just knock off this crap. They made a move. It's exciting. Let's see what happens. Let's all move on with our lives. And excited for the Suns next year. This is the first time you've been excited about the Suns in forever, and people are poo-pooing. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. So anyway, lots of change going on in the NBA. Besides that one, I just wanted to touch on that one because obviously it impacted the Phoenix Suns. We'll get more into that as the season comes closer. A lot of guys are moving around. One interesting thing I was reading today about CP3 was Milwaukee was a destination, and they need a point guard there. And Milwaukee never contacted Oklahoma City or Chris Paul's people to talk to them about possibly making a plan. I always find it interesting when a team needs that position, they'd be interested in them, and then they never pick up the phone and call. If you just make the call, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'm just always interested in how that happens and why you don't at least pick up the phone. I'm fascinated by that stuff. It's derelict of duty for Milwaukee not to pick up the phone and at least inquire about it. Even if the answer is no, you at least ask, hey, Chris Paul, you want to come here? Can we work out a deal? What are you looking for? It doesn't hurt to ask that. Ask it. And it fascinates me that teams don't want to at least pick up the phone and ask. If they come back and say it's going to take these 5 players, nothing less, and you go, okay, well, thanks for talking to me, and you hang up the phone, you move on with your life. But you have to at least make the call, right? Milwaukee, from what I was reading today, didn't make that call at all, and that just baffles me on how people do that. It's just baffling all around. But it is what it is, I guess, on that side. So, a lot of breaking news yesterday on the Suns, right? Of course, we're going to get into this a little bit. Cardinals were huge on Sunday, winning that game the way they did. Got the Cardinals rewind in the bag since they play Thursday night. So we're going to touch on it a little bit here as well, but then I'm going to get that, and I'm going to get that out and posted tonight. Cardinals Rewind for this week will be out tonight. Of course, I posted it at the Main Event Pod. I posted on the SMAC 500, all of that stuff. Of course, that video is on YouTube as well. And then it goes out on all the podcast systems also right after the video gets posted. So look for that a little bit later on. But obviously, big news here in Phoenix. One other thing that happened this weekend that I feel like I have to touch on, because it is a fun little golf event, right? Little small golf event in the world. But it was weird that it was this weekend, right? The Masters played for the first time ever in November. It's normally in April. The course was dominated by Dustin Johnson, number one player in the world. He showed why yesterday. And he won the Masters. He gets a green jacket with a score of -20. Normally, I would watch the Masters because it's not a lot going on in April. And I would watch it. I'd have it on over the weekend. But it was head-to-head with another event I have out at the racetrack, as you guys know. So that was in the evenings. And then, but not only that, it was up against college football, which college football was kind of a dud this weekend. College football this year is kind of a dud, but it was kind of a dud this weekend. Not a lot of big-name games going on. There were some exciting games, though, that I saw. And then, of course, the NFL on Sunday. So I didn't get to watch a lot of it, but it was hurt. It was hurt by the football lineup. It was hurt about being played in November, but it was also hurt because Dustin Johnson dominated the tournament. Tiger Woods faltered badly in this tournament also. Phil Mickelson was out of it. Rory was, not even close within striking distance out there either. And kind of a lot of things going against it this year, right? As the tournament went on. But one thing that you got to see is Tiger Woods goes out, right, on Sunday. He does what we've all done. Tiger scores a 10 on the course. A 10. That's, you see people do that. A 10 on a par 3, no less. How many of us have gone out golfing and it can't relate to that, right? You just have one of those meltdown holes on a par 3. You can't get it up. It's up on the green and it's all over the place. You're knifing it everywhere. But I like Tiger today more than I liked Tiger 15, 20 years ago. 15, 20 years ago, you got that young, brash, kid that wants to be the best. Now he's got all that old man wisdom and everything out there. Because just his comments after the round with that, and he played well after that meltdown. That was on hole 12, and he played well after that too. He made a comeback. Tiger Woods in his final round, so on Sunday at the Masters, he carded a 10 on the 12th hole, and he shot a 76. But that's because he shot a 76 because he had 5 birdies in the final 6 holes. That's pretty good. If I shoot a 10, I'm bad for like 3 more holes, right? Which, by the way, for the record, I don't shoot a 10 on a par 3 very often. I might get a 6, might get a 7 every once in a while, but I've never shot a 10. So I don't know what that feels like, but I know what it's like to just melt down on a par 3 and suck at it. Everybody does it. But then to rebound and get 5 birdies in his final 6 holes is pretty phenomenal. Like that's good mental capacity. But let's see what Tiger had to say here after he tied at 38th for the tournament. I think he finished up at -1, I believe, in the final round with that 76. But let's take a look here real quick.
How much pride do you take in the fight back after 12?
That's part of our sport. I was saying in there earlier, the sport is awfully lonely sometimes. That's you have to fight it. No one's gonna bring you off the mound or call in a sub. You have to fight through it, and that's what makes this game so unique. It's so difficult mentally, and we've all been there. Unfortunately, I've been there and just have to turn around and figure out the next shot.
He's got a big old smile on his face. He's almost like he's happy with the round. Yeah, he was disappointed in that 12, that 12 hole, that 12th hole he was disappointed in. But he also knows that he played well afterwards as well, and he's smiling while he's talking, and I like that Tiger. I like that Tiger right there. Doesn't take himself so seriously. I just people that take themselves so seriously when it comes to that stuff, like you got to sit back and laugh sometimes at yourself. You score a 10, you got to just sit back and laugh, right? You just gonna, hey, it sucked. What are you gonna do? You got to be mad about it, but you got to laugh about it. But I like that Tiger on the Masters, absolutely loved it. Phil finished 55th place with a score of +3. I know there's a lot of stuff with Phil playing on the senior tour right now, but wow, yeah, maybe it's maybe that's a good thing he's going to the senior tour on there, because that was not good at all at any stretch of the time here. As I said, Rory, let me pull up the leaderboard again here. I thought I saved it, and I apparently did not. So Rory was minus 11 on the week. He was tied for the 5th. Justin Thomas was minus 12, finished in the 4th place there. But how would you like to be finishing 2nd place in the Masters? Cameron Smith is the only player this weekend to shoot in the 60s all 4 rounds. Normally when you do that, you're winning a golf tournament. Not this time. This time you're finishing in 2nd place and you're finishing 5 shots behind. He's the first to shoot 4 rounds in the 60s, but tied for 2nd place. Doesn't even win 2nd place, ties for 2nd place. That's amazing. And normally you would win that golf tournament most of the time. Every other time you would probably win it. I don't know what the odds are on that if you play that well and finish the 2nd. So congratulations. You played so well, you get a tie for 2nd. You get to split the pot in 2nd place. That's just, just horrible to see there. So just a little interesting thing on the Masters. DeChambeau, of course, that's actually what I was looking up here. I wish I would have saved that deal there. Of course, was boasting all weekend about how he's going to that 48-inch driver, right? And he's going to bomb the ball and leave himself with short play on his 2nd shot. And all that didn't work out for him at all. At all. Almost missed the cut on a Friday. Makes the cut. Rebounds enough to make the cut. Finishes it in 34th place, tied for 34th at -2 for the weekend. That course was unrelenting, and he was, talked a big game going into how he was going to bomb it down there and be able to have short 2nd one to score a lot of points. Boy, did it not work out. The course had different idea for DeChambeau this weekend. Some courses that'll work out. The Masters apparently not. Especially not. So the Masters comes back again as of now. We'll see what happens, but it comes back in April again next year. Like I said, I was kind of disappointed it was played in November. I get why they did it, but you just weren't able to enjoy it the way you did. I couldn't enjoy it the way I did. Too many other things going on right now. But hey, they got it in. It was fun to watch. Can't argue with that at all. And like I said, I like that Tiger a lot. Able to laugh at himself a little bit more. Doesn't take everything so serious like he used to do. And I like it a lot. So let's get into some football, of course. College football this weekend. Let me get the logo up here. I thought I just did it, but apparently I did not. All right. Of course, the ASU Cal game was canceled this weekend. We were all sitting around waiting for Cal to find out if they had enough players to get out of the protocol in order to play that game. Turns out ASU got hit with the COVID after their USC game. Game canceled on Friday afternoon. ASU was already canceled, and the Pac-12 has already canceled the ASU game against Colorado this weekend because of contract tracing. Everybody needs to follow the rules that they have set forward, whatever they are, for the 2 weeks. So ASU has that dreaded, quote, not enough scholarship players to field a team, unquote. As I've said this 100 times, and I know some of you disagree with me, and that's fine. Some of you think they never should have played. Some of you think they should have played in the spring. No, not at all. There's nothing wrong with playing in this fall. The SEC is showing you there's nothing wrong with it. The ACC is showing you there's nothing wrong with it. The ACC just moved around a bunch of games for Miami because they had flexibility in their schedule making in order to play this fall. Flexibility is what you need right now in this pandemic. Whether you agree with it or not, we don't get into that side of it. But flexibility is what. If anything, baseball showed you flexibility was needed. If anything, basketball showed you flexibility was needed. If anything, especially, at Major League Baseball, going back to that, started off with all this stuff. They got hit pretty hard. Playoffs, they went to a bubble to get through it. Flexibility, ability to, SEC can move games around. ACC can move games around. They gave themselves enough time to move games around. You know who didn't? Big Ten and Pac-12. So when they can't go because of it, because you're going to get hit with it. Everybody knows you're going to get hit with the COVID and you're going to miss a game or two. It is almost guaranteed. And they gave no flexibility. The leadership on the Pac-12, these university presidents who think they're smarter than everybody else in this country, and they're not. They're not smarter than everybody else. They think they are. They determined they were going to cancel it, and everybody else would follow them, and everybody else figured out how to make this work, except for the Pac-12. It's garbage what they've done. The university leadership, blame Larry Scott all you want. He is the mouthpiece and the puppet boy of the university presidents. These university presidents, supposedly the Pac-12 is great schools, right? Cal considers themselves a highly educated school. Stanford does. UCLA, USC, all these big, high educational things. But they're so stupid when it comes to this that they can't realize the way to play through this is through flexibility, not rigid, try to shoehorn a season in at the end of the year. These presidents have let down the players. They've let down their schools. They've let down their fan bases by doing this garbage. Trying to shoehorn a season into the end of the year in order to get money. That's why they're doing it, folks. They didn't go to the spring because they're not going to get money in the spring. They needed a screen. And they waited so long and dragged their feet when they saw it was working everywhere else, and they decided to shoehorn it in there instead of doing the right thing and creating flexibility. The Pac-12 leadership has nearsightedness. Their stubbornness. They thought people were going to follow them. And nobody followed them. Everybody laughs at them. The Pac-12 is a laughing stock. The leadership is a laughing stock. And it continues every week because they shoehorned the season in here and didn't do flexibility, which was the right thing to do. They ignored the doctors and the science, if you want to go down that track. They ignored the people that told them flexibility to get through the season is what you need. And they went with doctors that said, you're not going to make it through the season. It's a joke. It's embarrassing. The Pac-12 university presidents are the worst at their jobs. It isn't even close. It's just a joke, and it's annoying. It's pissing everybody off. Do the right thing instead of stop doing the wrong thing constantly because you think you're smarter than everybody. Michael Crow at ASU, the U of A president, whoever your name is, all the other presidents, you don't even care what your names are. You're garbage. You're absolutely the worst people on the planet. You can't crisis management. You're just absolutely worst people on the planet when it comes to this and solving it. I'm off my soapbox. So we have a college pick'em. It's me against one member of the All Access crew. So we have Mikkel. Me and Mikkel are going one-on-one. Last week, I went 0 for 4. Horrible week last week in my picking. This week, we had Indiana at Michigan State. We had SC at Arizona. We had Wisconsin at Michigan. We had Penn State at Nebraska. We had Notre Dame at Boston College. And then we also had the Cal at ASU game. Instead of 5 games, we did 6 because I was hoping that Cal and ASU game was going to go through. And that would make us up for missing the Arizona-Utah game last week. And it didn't work out. So we got 5 in this week. Me and Mikkel both had Indiana. We both had SC. We both had Wisconsin. We both had Notre Dame. But we differed in one game. Penn State at Nebraska. We both picked Indiana. Indiana won. We both picked SC. USC won. We both picked Wisconsin. Wisconsin won. How much longer till Jim Harbaugh's out of Michigan? And they're going to pull the trigger this year. He's got a super young team. A really, really young team. Can you get somebody better? There's an argument to be made. Michigan can't get anybody better. Anyway, we both picked Notre Dame. Notre Dame won. I picked Nebraska. He picked Penn State, and Nebraska won. I went 5-0 this weekend. made up for my 0-4 start next year. So I'm 5-4 on the season. And Mikkel went 4-1 on this week. Solid week of picking in college football. Amongst all these unknowns, solid weekend of picking. Love it. Love it. Love it. So we'll get the games on Thursday again. I'm sorry, at the end of the week we'll get those games picked, and so we can do that. Keep going forward. For who has the season for these last several weeks of the season here. We just started it last week, and we're going to go through the end. So definitely play along and let us know who you think's going to win when the games come out at the end of the week. So on there. So other college football news. There's really no news this weekend, really, in college football. This weekend's games, a lot of snoozer type games this weekend. A lot of matches were, especially the SEC games were canceled this weekend. Even though the games that were canceled, I don't think were going to be that great. As I said, the big news coming out right now is the ACC is reshuffling football schedule because of Miami's COVID-19 issues. So the ACC, flexibility, folks. I just got done talking about it. The Hurricanes have their next 3 games rescheduled as a result of the coronavirus issues inside the program. And they shuffled multiple ACC games around. It's amazing what can happen when you plan. And you have a plan and your leadership is good and can crisis management. It's amazing what can happen. So, I'm done ranting about that. It's just Pac-12 just is irritating. We're supposed to be a good conference and a smart conference, and we're just embarrassing. Just embarrassing. So last weekend, other games that went on that we didn't do on the pick'em there, right? Notre Dame. I don't know if it was a scare against Boston College, but it was a closer game than you thought it would be. Florida killed Arkansas. Miami beat Virginia Tech by 1, ironically enough. We talked about Indiana over Michigan State. Oregon beat Washington State. Washington State was in that game till halftime. Oregon is struggling. But yeah, we talked about Michigan where they got destroyed by Wisconsin, 49-11. That was after Wisconsin was off for 2 weeks. But Michigan isn't good. Super young. A lot of sophomores, a lot of freshmen on that team. Do you pull the trigger? Who do you get that's going to be better? Because this is Michigan's problem lately, and I know I'm going to upset some of you Michigan fans, is they don't hire good coaches. The coaches before Jim Harbaugh weren't good. They're on the downside of picking coaches to make Michigan successful. So who do you bring in that's going to be better? That's the question, right? SMU beat Tulsa this weekend. I'm sorry, Tulsa beat SMU this weekend. Number ranked SU, so that was an upset there. Northwestern is still winning, in that they're back this year. They beat Purdue 27-20. Purdue plays everybody tough. It's amazing. How bad is Penn State this year? Is James Franklin in trouble at Penn State with how bad they've started off this year? They're over this year. Has he bought enough time with his Big Ten championships that he had and everything to stay aboard this team for another year and see what he can do next year, rebound? Because Penn State's not playing well. You could have a Michigan head coach opening and a Penn State head coach opening after this year. Both teams decide to do that. Number 22 ranked Liberty. We talked about him last week with Hugh Freeze there getting his second chance after his Ole Miss scandal. Still undefeated, 58-14 over Western Carolina. It's good to see him get a second chance, and he's dominating at it. Absolutely. Illinois finally rebounds and get a win this weekend against Rutgers, 23-20. They started off bad after going to their first bowl game in forever last year. Struggling to start off this year. Colorado at Stanford in the Pac-12. Colorado beat Stanford. On there. Florida State lost to NC State. I wanted to find the North Carolina score here. Where is that at? Because obviously I'm following North Carolina. I know North Carolina won over the weekend, but I don't remember what the score was. Yeah, but there it is. Wake Forest at North Carolina. North Carolina won 59-53. North Carolina's a good team. They had a bad loss against FSU, Florida State. They had a bad loss against Virginia last week. I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago. But they're back on the winning ways. Now they have a tough matchup this weekend against Notre Dame. I'm sorry, on November 27th. So a week, they have a week off, and then they play next weekend at Notre Dame. Huge matchup for the Tar Heels. Of course, I follow them, as you know, because Mac Brown. Because Texas is struggling. Mac Brown needed to leave Texas. I always say that. But it's just fun to watch Mac Brown, who was all washed up and not doing well in Texas anymore, go to a school with no football history whatsoever and walk in there and win games. He won them last year, surprisingly. He's winning this year. It's just a fun little follow. I enjoy following it. Oregon State lost to Washington over the weekend, also in the Pac-12. I think that was all the Pac-12 games. A lot of postponements last weekend, and a lot of ranked teams were postponed last weekend. But there were no, matchups, no ranked matchups last week at all. It was just kind of a lackluster weekend. So, hey, it is what it is. Of course, on Sunday, the Pac-12 did do something weird where they had two teams that were able to play but didn't have teams to play because Utah was out again because of their COVID situation. And they were playing UCLA, so they canceled that game. Of course, Cal ASU was canceled. Cal just came off of their COVID stuff, were able to play. So they matched up Cal and UCLA on Sunday morning. So Cal went to UCLA, 34-10, UCLA over Cal. One thing I will say to the Pac-12 is this shows their flexibility. They were able to throw this game together for two teams 2 days before, and they threw two teams that were able to play that aren't on the schedule, and they went ahead and let them play each other. It's great. I love that flexibility. That's what you need. But now ASU's out 2 games. Cal was out 2 games. If you had some flexibility in that schedule, you could move those games to a bye week or move some games around, but you can't do that because of it. So I'll give them a little bit of props for moving that around. But that's all they're going to get from me at this point, So college football wrap up there. Big weekend this weekend with a lot of games. We'll get into that, of course, at the end of the week podcast. A little bit on Wednesday night on the 1580 radio show as well. So let's get into some NFL pick'em. Yeah. Well, NFL review, I guess. Wrong end of the week on this. Exciting week in NFL football, of course. Those of you that know, they call me the big roller on the 1580 show. But I was at the Cardinals game on Sunday against the Bills with the season tickets. You were able to choose what game to go to as they go through the season ticket list. I was at the Bills Cardinals game. Fantastic game all around. It was an exciting game all around. From the first half where the Bills were just basically throwing all over the Cardinals. Cardinals were dominating on the run game. We're going to break that down a little bit. Cliff Kingsbury's play calling starting to irk me a little bit. How's the number 1 offense in the league only get 3 points in the first half, for instance? How does the defense get lit up passing wise in the first half? Second half, well, end of the second quarter, basically. Second half, dominate that Buffalo Bills offense. Just this team is, we talked about it last week, consistently inconsistent, right? So we'll get into our 5-game pick'em results here. Let's get this out of the way first for the weekend. This week, we have a lot more people picking because Randy was helping me produce the show on Wednesday night on the radio show. And, of course, he makes picks with us. And then Izzy, who is now going to be a member of the main event there on 1580. He's going to move into the producer role. Forrest, I'm not sure if it's this Wednesday, but definitely next Wednesday before Thanksgiving. He should be in there. He's training right now, and I'm not sure what the plan is for him at this moment for this Wednesday because he is working on the morning show, getting trained up. So I'm not sure if he's going to bookend his days. But he at least got picks in this week. We're not recording their picks. We're just having fun while they're in the studio. So I'll start with that first. Randy actually went 3-2 this week. He had the Bucks, Cardinals, and Vikings as winners. Of course, lost. He picked the Titans and the Seahawks. Izzy, unfortunately, not a good start for Izzy being part of the main event crew. 1 for 4. He had the only win he had was the Bucks. He picked the Titans, the Bills, the Seahawks, and the Bears. So not a good start for Izzy on the main event crew there on the 1580 radio show. But the group that we've had all season going, you had Kaler. Well, actually, me, Adam, and Kaler all went 2-3 this year. The interesting thing is we all had different games that lost and different games that won. It's fascinating. So I won with the Cardinals and the Vikings. I lost. I picked the Titans. I went on the Panthers side. Of course, I didn't plan on Teddy Bridgewater getting injured. And then the Rams I lost on. I'm sorry, not the Rams. Seahawks I lost on. I picked the Seahawks on that. Let me change that here. And then Adam went 2 for 3. He had the win on the Colts and the Bucks this week. Solid win on the Colts there. Solid pick on the Colts. Most people did not. Nobody in our group picked them at least. Losses were the Bills, Seahawks, and Bears. And of course, Kaler went 2 for 3 also. He won on the Bucks and the Vikings. He lost on the Titans, Bills, and Seahawks. So rough week. We all were under 500 on the host side, except for Randy, of course. Congratulations, Randy. On the All Access crew, and I got to sit down and do the totals. I didn't get a chance this weekend because I had obviously the racetrack gig and was dealing with all that this weekend for that 2-day show. So I did not get to do the totals for the last few weeks to update it. We'll get that on there. I'll try to get it for this end of the week show. If not, we'll definitely have it for next week. But the All Access crew picked here. Solid weekend for the All Access crew. I do make fun of the All Access crew a lot that make the picks. Of course, it's Intern and Mikkel. And solid week by you guys, man. Intern was 4-1. Her only loss was the Titans on Thursday Night Football. She, of course, picked the Bucks, Cardinals, Rams, and Vikings. And Mikkel, 3-2 on the week. He lost on the Titans and Seahawks, but he won on the Bucks, Cardinals, and Vikings. So, solid pick week by you guys. I know I give you guys a hard time because you guys have been off a little bit this year. But solid week for you guys on that 5-game pick'em results. Knock that off so you don't keep continuing on that, would you? Please? I would appreciate it. So, what did we learn from all of Sunday's games? Last week, of course, we went through all the mid-season reports, all the remaining schedules coming out, the who's performing well, running backs keep an eye on. All that was fun last week, you know. But Cardinals, let's start with the Cardinals, 32, Buffalo Bills 30. Of course, like I said, really quick, another plug. The Cardinals Rewind is done. It's in the bag. It will be posted tonight. Probably, I am on the blender today as well till 6 p.m. So probably later tonight, 8 o'clock or so tonight, it'll all be posted. So it's on there because, of course, they played Thursday night against the Seahawks. But this was just a fun, exciting game to watch. Kyler Murray is just something special about this kid. He can do things that nobody else can do. The Hail Mary, just for him to throw that ball was fantastic. But things he did also early in the game were just great. Kenyon Drake makes his return to the Cardinals after that ankle injury, 3 weeks ago or so? Gets 100 yards. Chase Edmonds gets 56. Kyler Murray runs for 61. Just amazing. You had the first touchdown by the Bills where Josh Allen scores the touchdown. He gets thrown to by his running back, I believe it was, and scores a touchdown. Larry Fitzgerald had a drop that, of course, ended up being a turnover. I don't know how I feel about that in the stadium. I feel like he should have caught it. Absolutely. But I don't know how it ended up in the air. I'm still baffled by that. It was going to stick with whatever the call on the field was. Cole Beasley had a huge game for the Bills. He had that one-handed snag, one-handed catch before Diggs caught his unbelievable touchdown in the corner of the end zone there for the Bills to take the lead at the end. And then, of course, the Hail Mary at the end as well, where he had Kyler Murray. DeAndre Hopkins gets it at the high point and goes to there. And Mikkel on Facebook says, all right, intern, turning up the heat on the host. Great job. I haven't done the totals in the last couple of weeks. I need to do it, but I think the hosts still have a pretty big lead on you guys. But like I said, I'm going to sit down and do some adding. I have some free time coming up here, so I'll sit down and do all that. So the Cardinals are for real, right? They're inconsistent, but they're a real team. They're a force to reckon with. They're going to lose games they shouldn't. See the Lions, see the Panthers, see the Dolphins, for instance. But they're also a good team, right? The defense struggled at the beginning against the pass, dominated at the end of the game. It's just what the Cardinals are. It was reiterated. The Bills are also a good team. I was impressed with the Bills' play. They struggled against Kyler Murray in this offense, the Bills' defense, but a lot of teams do, right? The problem that you have for the Bills is that Josh Allen led the Bills in rushing again this game. Not good. I know because I played their running back on my fantasy team, and he didn't get anything. I expected him to actually run a lot and do have some success against this Cardinals defense, and he didn't. Stephon Diggs was fairly quiet for the most part, until the touchdown at the end there. Fantastic game. Game of the weekend. New England Patriots beat the Baltimore Ravens last weekend. Something's wrong with this Baltimore Ravens offense where Lamar Jackson comes out last week and says defenses know what's coming. And then they go out there and they lay an egg. Granted, bad weather. Rain everywhere. Huge bad weather there. But the Patriots rebounded. They still have some fight in them. Cardinals go to the Patriots in a couple weeks. So I don't know what's going on with Baltimore. It's just their offense is disappointing right now. Absolutely disappointing. So, Baltimore's now lost 2 of their last 3. And they have Pittsburgh in their division. So they're obviously not going to win the division now that they've lost 3 games on the season. They're 6-3 on the year. Steelers are winning that division with being undefeated right now. Lamar Jackson does not look like the MVP he was last year. But their defense is the shocker in this game. Their defense did not show up. Calais Campbell was out for the first time in many years. I want to say it was 2014, but don't quote me on that. It's a long time since Calais Campbell's missed an NFL game. And that was when he was with the Cardinals. And he wasn't in this game. And that Ravens defense struggled completely. Lamar Jackson fell to 0-6 in his career when failing by 10 or more points. This team does not come back when they're down. The Chiefs come back when they're down and get them to that point. The Ravens aren't built that way. Baltimore has serious issues, and they shouldn't have. I don't know where the breakdown is there. I want to sit down and study this a little bit and find out. Is it Harbaugh, the head coach? Is that the breakdown? Is it just the playing core in there? The play calling? What is it? We got to break it down. I don't know. But something's going on in Baltimore. Absolutely. Then you got the game that I picked the upset on, the Carolina Panthers winning this game. 46-23, the Buccaneers ended up winning it, showing me that I shouldn't have gone out on that ledge by any far. The Buccaneers rebounded. I felt that there's something wrong in Tampa on their offensive side. And this, I said at the beginning of the season, I picked Tampa Bay to win 10 games. And one of my hot takes was Tampa Bay is going to win 10 games, but it's going to be ugly how they do it. They're going to lose some games badly, but then they're going to win some games good. But they're still going to get to 10 games. And that's the Buccaneers that we have. And this game was close until the third quarter. Ronald Jones Had a huge, like a 98-yard touchdown run. Broke a couple tackles there. Uh, Tom Brady, Mike Evans finally started connecting together. He had 11 targets, which he hasn't had any recently. Chris Godwin was back this week. 6 catches, 92 yards. Antonio Brown had 7 catches, 69 yards. Rob Gronkowski, 2 catches, 51 yards. All big plays. And then on the Panthers side, they're already out without McCaffrey again. He's out again. They're saying he possibly could come back this week with a shoulder injury. But then Teddy Bridgewater gets out with 5 minutes left after a low hit, and he walked to the locker room. Nobody knows what his status is right now. I was trying to get an update this morning. I couldn't find it. I do know that it's not his knee that he blew out when he was in Minnesota, and they almost had to amputate it. It's not that knee, but he still have knee issue there. So Panthers obviously came out of this game a lot worse. Seahawks at Rams. Everybody in our pick'em had Seahawks this weekend. Rams are a weird team. They beat up on the NFC East, but have struggled against everybody else. The Rams held the number 1 scoring offense to 16 points. The Rams defense stepped up in this game. Absolutely. Russell Wilson got intercepted twice. They kept the running game of the Seahawks to basically nothing. They had 6 sacks. This was the worst offensive outing for Seattle this whole year. And the question is, are the Rams waking up? This division's tough. You have 3 teams at 6-3. And the Rams are looking pretty good. Cardinals have to play them twice coming up. DK Metcalf, again, awful game. 2 catches for 28 yards. Same thing when they played the Cardinals. He struggled. Seahawks defense has been notoriously bad. If their offense is going to struggle, they're in the midst of a losing streak. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers, no shocker. They went to 9-0. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Pittsburgh defense is the reason why they're winning these games. Absolutely. He expected to keep going. Ben Roethlisberger's looking good again. Even with his bad knees and everything. He's got some receivers this year. Fantastic. The Bengals got behind early. They were down 12-0 pretty quickly after the first quarter. And then it was that defense is one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league, and just confused rookie Joe Burrow. Not a surprise. You expect it to happen. Dolphins, are they for real? 5-game winning streak for the Dolphins right now. They beat the Chargers. Of course, I had them picked to beat the Chargers. 2 rookie quarterbacks going against each other. Tua is not perfect by any stretch, but he's actually controlling the game. Herbert's a good quarterback. I love him as a rookie. Tua's growing on me. I enjoy watching him play. Now that Miami has won 5 in a row, are they going to still play the same now that they're not going to be able to sneak up on anybody? They've been sneaking up on people. Are they going to be able to keep sneaking up on people? Now, how does their play change now that people are aware of them and that they can win the games? Justin Herbert did have a bad game. I think it was one of his worst games he's had this year, his first year in the season. That Miami's defense is woken up out of nowhere. This is something to watch, folks. Miami's defense is spectacular. This is something, they're going to upset somebody at some point. The New Orleans Saints beat the 49ers this weekend, 27-13. 49ers are still beat up, of course. We've talked about that. Big storyline out here, of course. Drew Brees. Broken ribs. Deflated lung. Couldn't finish the second Couldn't finish the first half, couldn't go out second half. Jameis Winston had to come in. Drew Brees is going to miss some weeks. Jameis Winston's going to be the starter. Is that going to change this? The Saints are good enough to get deep into these playoffs with Drew Brees. Are they good enough with Jameis Winston to get there? We're going to see. Everybody had faith that Teddy Bridgewater, as the backup to Drew Brees, would be able to get him into the playoffs and get him far. Some question marks with Jameis Winston. It's his time to shine, baby. Let's see what you got, Jameis. If not, it's going to turn into Tampa Bay's division. Absolutely. Saints defense is still good, though. Then how much do the Saints change their offense with Jameis Winston as the quarterback compared to Drew Brees? Do they change it at all? I'm fascinated by this, and I want to watch these Saints now with Drew Brees being out. And we've seen, quite frankly, I think we've seen the end of the good Drew Brees. No matter how this season ends up, if he comes back and plays or he doesn't. We're seeing the end of Drew Brees. He's a very solid quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback. We're just seeing the end of him. And you hate to see him go out this way. See what happens if he can come back and perform. Green Bay Packers beat the Jaguars 24-20. This game was way closer than it should have been, but this weather, these wind gusts and this rain and stuff that's hitting these places during games is ridiculous. You can't throw the football at all. Of course, the Jaguars are still playing with Jake Luton. I was reading yesterday that they're expecting Gardner Minshew back this week. See what happens. 30-mile-per-hour winds of that game. Green Bay's winning, but they're not solid. I don't think they're gonna make it far in the playoffs. There's gonna be an upset coming their way. It's just there's something where Green Bay's just winning against the teams they need to win. They're a good team. Can they get past the better teams than them is the question. The Raiders dominated the Broncos this weekend. Absolutely dominated them. Running game went crazy for the Raiders. I was with my buddy D Mills all weekend, and he's a huge Raiders fan. And I told him that the Raiders' rushing game was not very good. And, of course, what do? They go out and run for 193 yards and 4 touchdowns on 35 carries on Sunday. Right? Raiders are a good team. I think they're 2 years out from winning big, but they're a good team. Broncos are not. They dominated the game, 37-12. Darren Waller did not show up in this game. Dropped a long TD pass. Henry Ruggs dropped a long deep pass. That running game won in that game right there, in that defense. So good for the Raiders. Houston Texans at Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb is back, folks. That's the news out of this game. Browns are 6-3. Houston is what Houston is. We've talked about them. Deshaun Watson. My fantasy team sucked this weekend. Deshaun Watson was another reason why. Is what it is, right? But Nick Chubb was back and played well. Of course, could have scored a second touchdown, but stepped out with one on the 1 yard line in order for them to keep the ball. So he only got the 1 touchdown. Should have been a bigger loss by Houston, but Cleveland won a game. 6-3 after Cleveland. They're a team to watch. OBJ's out. I warned everybody. This team might be a little better with him out because they're not going to force the ball into him, and they're winning. Now with Nick Chubb back, watch out for the Browns. I think they're going to have some more surprises coming people's way. Horrible game of the week was the Eagles and New York Giants. Are the New York Giants the best team in the NFC East? It's possible. It's absolutely possible. And they don't even have the best running back in there. Eagles are decimated. Eagles are, I don't know what their head coach is doing with his play calling. The Eagles were on a bye week and they came out just slow, sluggish. It's not good. The defense couldn't stop the Giants. Offense was out of sync. Off of a bye week. Giants might be the best team in the NFC East. Eagles certainly aren't. You got the Washington football team versus the Lions. Of course, it was 30-27. Detroit won this game. Matt Prater, 59-yard walk-off field goal to get the Lions their first home win of the season. Back and forth game. Washington football team plays people tough. Alex Smith, first start in some odd, how many years? Many years since his thing. I know he's been in games as a backup, but he made his return to the football field as a starter. Almost brought the team back. They were down. Washington was down 24-3 midway through the third quarter, and then they come back. That's solid. That's what Washington's going to give you with Ron Rivera there. They're never going to be out of a game. Nope. Chase Young is a stud back there. Washington's on the way up. Absolutely. It's been 2 years, nearly 2 years to the day after suffering the leg injury. Alex Smith was the starting quarterback yesterday. Good games this weekend. It's shaping up. I mean, playoff pictures shaping up to some weird things right now. Of course, last night, Monday Night Football, Vikings and the Bears. Matt Nagy, we all know my Matt Nagy rants. Matt Nagy handed his play calling off to somebody else. And the Vikings won. Dalvin Cook was held pretty much good by that Chicago Bears defense. Kirk Cousins, though, brought the Minnesota Vikings back to win the game. Kirk Cousins is not good on Monday Night Football. Before he was 1-9, and he just won this game. And that's what I was saying last week is with Dalvin Cook running so well, that's going to open up to, and I know I take crap for saying serviceable, but Kirk Cousins is a serviceable quarterback. And you get Dalvin Cook running the ball, it's going to open up the game for Kirk Cousins to hit open guys and be successful out there. And he was last night. They came back and won the game. The Bears offense is still, even with somebody else playing the ball, or making the play calls, if I can speak. Bears offense is just not good. Not good. Of course, the injury news in this game is Nick Foles gets injured in this game, carted off the field toward the end of the game. Not good. Because Mitch Trubisky's injured with a shoulder injury. Who is going to be quarterback for the Bears, right? Of course, the guy making the play calls was offensive coordinator Bill Lazor, I think is how you say it. Offense didn't ignite, though. Basically, Nick Foles, was scrambling like he always does, mostly to failure. And of course, the Bears only put together 149 total yards against the NFL's number 29 ranked defense. Yeah, that's how bad the Bears offense is, folks. They had a new back in the backfield due to injuries. Who's going to play quarterback for the Bears? That's the biggest question because, as I said, Nick Foles was carted off the field. Bears get worse and worse. I have nothing else to say about the Bears. They just get me fired up with what they do and their decisions. Of course, Akeem Hicks went down for the Bears also with a hamstring injury. So the Bears offense, which was bad with their stars out there, now have some even more bad news coming their way. Bears are whatever they are, right? Absolutely. NFL playoff picture, just to kind of start looking at it now that we're at week 10, we're past halfway in the season, right? Of course, nobody has clinched yet. It's way too early, but Packers are in the number one spot. They would be the number one ranked team is going to be the only team that gets a bye this year. Remember that. The 2 seed does not anymore. But the Packers are in the 1 seed in the NFC. Saints are in the 2nd seed. 3 seed is the Arizona Cardinals. because they're currently leading the NFC West. Eagles are in the 4th seed because they're winning a division at 3-5-1. Buccaneers are in the 5 seed. Rams are in the 6 seed. Seattle's in the 7 seed. I expect all 3 teams to be in the playoffs. The Cardinals, the Rams, and the Seahawks. It's just a matter of where the rankings are. Going to be great. Teams on the bubble, like right now, the 8 seed would be the Bears. The 9 seed would be the Vikings. The 10 seed would be the Lions. You notice the trend there? They're all just kind of with each other at 5-5, 4-4, stuff like that. In the AFC right now, the Steelers are in first place. Going for that bye. The Chiefs are in second place. Then it's the Bills in the 3rd, Colts in the 4th, Raiders in the 5th, Dolphins in the 6th, Ravens in the 7th. The interesting team, that's out of the playoffs right now, Titans are in the 8th seed at 6-3. I expect the Titans to make the playoffs, so who gets knocked out? You didn't think the Raiders would be there at 6-3, right? You didn't think the Dolphins would be there at 6-3. Do one of those falter and fall out? Because I think the Steelers, Chiefs, Bills are making the playoffs, especially with their divisions. Do the Ravens fall out? You got the Titans right there at 6-3. You got the Browns at 6-3, just waiting there. You can see a 2-game swap there. Fascinating to watch in the AFC, absolutely. Time to watch that. So, kind of the NFL breakdown this week. I appreciate everybody watching. We'll be back. Of course, Wednesday night I have the radio show. Normally we do a podcast on Thursday morning. I'm going to move it to Friday moving forward because, one, get more breaking news going into the weekend on Friday. So look for it to be moved from Thursday to Friday morning, probably around 10 a.m. like I normally do. I'll put a post out on that. I appreciate y'all watching because then the shows will be Monday. Podcast on Monday and Friday, and then the radio show on Wednesday night. Play with some time frames here to see what we got going. But I appreciate y'all watching. Of course, you can reach the show at the Main Event Pod on all the socials. That's where we do our show notes, post our show notes up. We post other relevant news, schedules, things that catch our eyes during the week when we're not on the air. And, of course, my personal is at SMAC500, SMAC500. Give me a follow. Talk a lot sports on there. Lots of lively discussions. If you agree or disagree, we just have some fun. Just don't be a jerk about it. And we'll have some fun. I don't care if you disagree with me. I don't care if I disagree with you. It's part of the fun. Let's talk. Let's have some fun. So next time, of course, Wednesday night, as I said, and then probably Friday this week. I will see you all then. Thanks for watching.